Yeah, to apply a mathematical approach, can you use a pencil and paper?
Yes, yes, yes.
Can you use a hand calculator?
No. Oh, well, let me back up. This is all done with pencil and paper. The analysis of the Jang Ruy game was computer assisted, and we spent quite a while developing programs to assist.
On my first day as a postdoc at Bell Labs theoretical physics group, they said there's just two things that you have to worry about: playing Go at lunch and making sure that you're there at tea. That's when we talk about physics.
I learned Go. The first time I'd ever seen a Go game was at Bell Labs when I was there as a summer student at the age of 19. Yes, which is one reason I never got terribly good. You got to start at 8 or 9, like Go Sagan, if you want to get really good.
Has there been any success in somehow looking at the patterns of what the masters are doing early in the game?
Don't have a direct answer. The computer Go field, which I'll comment on, right now there's about, which I'm not into, but there's about 50 groups around the world doing computer Go. And they range from 6 or 7 people to sometimes 1 or 2. They compete with each other against other computer Go programs a couple times a year. There are 2 big tournaments. There's the Ing International Tournament, and then there's the Frost Cup, which is Japanese. And, you know, positions jostle around and change a little bit. But they seem to be stuck at about a 5Q level. I don't know how you understand the rankings. I'm a couple stones better than that. I mean, I can give most of these programs a couple stones and probably beat them. There's well over 1 million players in the world who can always beat me. So this is not that good, although they will beat a beginner and they give you some kind of game to play against. But the focus is on the programs playing each other, which gives them a real game. And some of them have tried all kinds of things. I mean, some of them try to talk to masters. The current world champion, and he's won like 3 years out of the last 5, is a Chinese program called Hand Talk. And the guy, the leader of that team, is a retired high school teacher who, in addition to teaching some science, I think chemistry actually, ran the local Go club and taught lots of beginners how to play Go. Including several of his former students became professionals. So he's a great Go teacher at an elementary level, and he's sort of managed to build enough of that into his program that his program is slightly better than many of the others. But trying to conversations with, I've had many conversations with Jujo and Naiwei and others. I mean, once we started giving them problems they couldn't solve, it's not hard for me to get attention from Go masters anymore. But it's very awkward. I mean, you'll find out, you know, see, they don't want to learn any theory. I mean, they'll try and do this with traditional methods. And they'll say, oh, no, this move has, well, it doesn't, it has, they have many more adjectives in front of Sente and Gote to try to sort this out. And it's a methodology that doesn't work. I mean, there's no way to linearly rank order these things. You've got to add them all up. I mean, but what they're doing is something that will work, you know, 70, 80% of the time or more in the cases that they're most likely to encounter. And that's, their real goal in life is to win. They're very much like, they're very competitive. Their behavior, both the computer Go club or gang and the professional gang, remind me in some ways of football coaches. I mean, when you visit Jujo Naiwei, what is she doing? Most of the time she's studying games played by her next opponent. I mean, just, you know, like, what does the coach do? He gets out the tape of yesterday's game of whoever's going to play next week, right? You know, where's their weak spots? How can we modify our style to fight this, you know? And so it's very individual specific. And I want winning moves. I mean, I don't want moves that depend on who I'm playing against. And it's a mathematical view rather than a competitive view.
Is there evidence in history that expertise at Go leads you to be either a great military leader or a great country political leader or anything like that?
Legends are abundant, and you know, see, you're dealing with a culture where you're not going to get in the history the kind of, you know, sociological data that would stand up to any sociologist here, for instance. I mean, so I don't know how you measure that, but certainly there are tales and stories. I have many famous tales and legends, and some no doubt true, one of the most famous ones I just mentioned is in medieval times, there were these two Japanese clans that were at war, and they were ready to, with their samurai and all this, go slaying each other off. And some peacemaker came along and said, "Nope, why don't we sell this with a game of Go?" See, and so they agreed. And then each put one Go player out, and they played a game of Go. And this particular game of Go ended in a so-called triple Ko, which is a very strange situation, where the game is essentially hung in, what I would say, hung in a loop. I mean, the Ko rule attempts to ban that, see, but it doesn't ban these more complicated loops, which get very. So the game ended in this hung situation, right? Now, and there's no Japanese rule forbidding that, so the game ended in a hung outcome. And so they went home for the night, wondering what to do. Meanwhile, one side jumped the gun and assassinated all the other. Okay. Now, and they were slaughtered that night. Now, the losing side, however, their allies later won the war, so it's their version of history which is now predominant. And the conclusion is that a triple Ko is an extremely bad omen. See? So this has crept into the rules. Okay. If this happens, for instance, it's not treated as a tie. It's treated as though both players lose. Okay. I mean, it's very, to a Westerner, very, very strange. But that's the way it is.
Among the deans of LNS, we've had some conversations about strategies for getting young people to go into the mathematical sciences. And I'm wondering whether it's your intuition that the 8 or 9-year-old being exposed to something like Go is going to have his or her passion engaged in a way that will in turn stimulate them to become much more mathematically competent. Any intuition?
Well, personally, let me just say, in the first grade, okay, I don't know how I learned anything, but I already knew how to count to 100. I already knew how to add 2-digit numbers. That was the arithmetic curriculum. I had a friend who, likewise, was well ahead of the class. The teacher kindly let us sit in the back of the room and play the game of dots and boxes, okay, which we did at great length. And as long as we didn't disturb anybody, and whenever she interrupted and asked us a question, we would pop in with usually the right answer. She was very tolerant. And yes, I believe that, games has been constructive. Whether traditional Go is the right game, I'm somewhat skeptical. I think there are a lot of easier games, which you do lead, even just teaching kids to play NIM, for instance. I mean, this has got binary number system, a lot of things in it. And I certainly favor that. I run around and give talks. I gave one in San Jose to junior high school kids just a couple nights ago. And, how big a success this is, who knows? I mean, to get a few enthusiasts like me getting kids interested is not so hard. I mean, to do this on a wider scale is iffy.